bullseye on her head that she got shot. Imagine putting that now, traders all over the world who have a vested interest in seeing these politicians get shot. But Hollywood, of course, is okay to protect them under the bill that was passed last summer, under the Cantor-Fitzgerald Box Office Futures Exchange. But for politicians in America, it's open season. Who cares? We're going to make money. Who cares?
Well, Dodd-Frank says that betting on assassination is not fair game, but we'll have to see how this goes. That's not the end of our conversation. We'll have more with financial activist and host of Keiser Report, Max Keiser. But first, this. All right, it's time now for Word of the Day, where we break down a financial term or concept for our very smart viewer, but just maybe not the financial expert. And today, it is futures exchange. Given that we are talking so much about them, the Nadex, which we're talking about, is a futures exchange. So what does it mean? It is this. It is a central financial exchange where people can trade futures contracts or other derivatives, which are financial instruments whose values are derived from the price movement of the underlying asset, so stocks, commodities, etc. Now, it turns out they've been around for a very long time, though. One of the earliest known futures markets developed in pre-Socratic Greece as far back as 600 BC, or right about there, by this guy, Thales of Miletus. He is a philosopher turned derivatives trader. What he did was he came up with the bright idea of securing future use of olive presses prior to the olive harvest for a fixed price. He was betting that a big harvest would boost demand for them, and this then allowed him to sell back the options to these olive presses contracts at a higher price to other Greeks that were suckers and didn't have the bright idea he had. In more recent times, we saw the rise of futures markets here in the United States, specifically in Chicago, where proximity to farmland and agribusiness made it a logical choice because, as we said, commodities are dealt with in this way. Now, although these markets already existed, it wasn't easy to find a counterparty on demand, meaning they were illiquid. So effectively, these were over-the-counter markets, which we hear a lot about today. But often these contracts were not honored, which was a major problem. And this was one of the reasons for running these transactions through a regulated U.S. exchange right here, a clearinghouse, to clear the trades and provide also a central counterparty that will extend a guarantee that the trade will be settled as it was originally intended. So what you have is a futures seller, like a farmer, that will sell futures contracts through this clearinghouse, and then the buyer of corn or whatever will buy futures contracts through the clearinghouse too, which ensures that everything pans out as everybody signed up for. Now, the Chicago Board of Trade was created in 1848 to help buyers and sellers of these derivatives hedge their positions on a regulated exchange. Again, it was later bought out by the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, or the CME, who we've heard a lot about lately. The chairman, Terrence Duffy, our audience should know very well from the MF Global saga, as well as our coverage.
At about 2 a.m. Monday morning, October 31st, MF Global informed both the CFTC and CME at approximately the same time that the shortfall was real and that customer segregated funds had been transferred out of segregation to the firm's broker-dealer accounts.
Now, MF Global's customers were transacting on regulated futures exchanges. So, of course, the recent experience of MF Global's customers with segregated trading accounts where their money was lost has thrown the entire premise of having such regulated markets into question, since one of the major points of paying the premium to run transactions through an exchange is to mitigate, if not eliminate, counterparty risk. And that is a futures exchange. Now, still ahead, do not go away. 2012 is on its way, and you know what that means. Yep, the end of the world hysteria. We'll tell you how some companies are cashing in on it. First, your closing market numbers.
We just put a picture of me when I was like 9 years old on To Tell the Truth.
question. I am a total ghetto princess. I love rap and hip-hop music and Christian music.
I thought he was kind of a dick yesterday.
I'm very proud of the role that Al Jazeera has played.
You know how sometimes you see a story and it seems so whole and complete, you think you understand it, and then you glimpse something else. You hear or see some other part of it and realize everything you thought you knew, you don't know? I'm Tom Hartman. Welcome to The Big Picture.
What drives the world?
The fear-mongering used by politicians.
Who makes decisions?
Considerable breakthrough has already been made.
Who can you trust?
No one who is imbued with a global missionary zeal.
Where are we heading?
State-controlled capitalism is called fascism.
When nobody dares to ask, we do. RT, question more.
Welcome back. We're going to stick to this presidential prediction market. Now you know what futures markets are. If you didn't already, most of our audience, I'm sure, does. And going back to this presidential one, I wanted to play devil's advocate a little bit because we're sitting here in Washington, D.C. We are well aware here, and I'm sure in most of the country you are too, that Americans are disillusioned with politics. Congress's approval rating has hit an all-time low. Seems like that keeps happening, but here's another one. Only 11% of the country approves of Congress, the lowest since Gallup began this poll. And Americans are disillusioned with their options for president in 2012. Fewer than half of people in a USA Today Gallup poll say there is any candidate running, Republican or Democrat, who would make a good president at all. So given this, I asked Max Keiser, hey, you know, aren't these futures options at least a way that citizens can get something out of American politics?
That's the most cynical thing I've heard all day, Lauren. You're saying, well, democracy doesn't exist. There's no representational democracy in Washington. So let's turn it into a giant roulette wheel, and maybe we'll hit the lottery and make a few bucks on the collapse of the American empire. Wow, that sounds fantastic, and Happy New Year. What is this? Is what it's come to in America, that there's no hope for a democratic election. The elections are already rigged. Now you're putting the potential of securitizing election rigging and putting it into the hands of the John Corzines of the world. We're going to securitize and leverage it up to 100 to 1 or 1,000 to 1 or 10,000 to 1, and the entire process will be based on whether or not they successfully undermine the entire process through fraud and malfeasance, insider trading, and market manipulation. Of course, it's going to be a disaster.
Well, I don't know. It might be cynical. I think I might be speaking to some people's desires here. We saw the Spanish lottery be their, Spanish people's maybe only chance to win it big with austerity in their country. But back to the United States, back to market manipulation. I do want to get to that, but I also want to bring in the market maker into this because the CEO of the NADEX said that there is a market maker on board for the other side of client trades, but he wouldn't name who. I'm just curious if you think, I don't know, maybe the vampire squid tentacles are going to be spread all over this one?
He wouldn't name the market maker because he's the market maker. What we're finding out, whether it's J.P. Morgan in the silver market or any of these traders in the sovereign bond market, they are both the buyer and the seller. There's no price discovery. They pick a price they want these securities to go to, and then they fill in the automatic trading to hit the price that they've already predetermined. It's going to be the same way in these presidential futures markets and the prediction markets. And as I said before, John McCain's camp was already caught manipulating the in-trade contract in 2008. So it's just going to multiply that exponentially. And, of course, all the money coming in through private donors now, they've deregulated that. So you have unlimited private cash affecting these elections in the U.S. And people in America will just watch the action on the political futures markets. They don't give a care who is actually running for any office at any given time. And if anyone gets shot in the head, well, someone's going to make a lot of money, and they're the winner for that day. It's like Running Man on steroids on an electronic futures contract brought to you by the same CFTC, run by the same Goldman Sachs scum who's been responsible for all the fraud up until now. It's ridiculous. How can the CFTC and the CME can't even manage any of the markets that they're currently involved in? Why are they adding yet another esoteric market that